Good morning, my outstanding friends. Today is going to be an exceptional day at Mud Fossil University. We are going to examine my early days and when I wrote this book because of the suppression by academia of my undeniable evidence. And I wrote Mud Fossils, and Velikovsky, who was also denied with undeniable evidence, and Minds in Collision. Well, Mud Fossils, Velikovsky, and Minds in Collision is sort of a play on words because Velikovsky wrote Worlds in Collision. Now, Worlds in Collision was destroyed by academics, just like everything I have done is exactly the same way. Only they've learned their lesson this time. They won't stand up for themselves. Before they tried to stand up, and Velikovsky basically destroyed him, but they destroyed him because they just wouldn't, once they make a decision, you're done. And I'm done, I don't care, because I'm just going to keep running my mouth. And so did Velikovsky. He's my hero. Let's look into it. All right, let me just start off by saying that everything that Velikovsky reported was in historical documents and recorded everywhere in the world. So he wasn't just making things up. However, they were so spectacular, as are my claims, that he was destroyed for being too truthful about the spectacularness of our universe and our solar system. And he says that, well, this is how catastrophism in collision started, where everybody's always heard, a great flood, everything was wiped off the face of the earth. Well, yes. Legend has it the world passes through cycles of history terminated by either fire or water. What gave rise to these legends? According to Velikovsky, they probably arose in part from the events that accompanied the Earth's encounter with a giant comet in the second millennium BC. And that giant comet was Venus, and it smashed into Mars. Okay, this is Elon Musk, and he's going to be talking about Mars and their terrifying new discoveries that they found up there. They're looking to put a base up there. Well, let's look into what Mars really consists of. You see this up here at the top? Elon Musk. He's the guy that wants to go to Mars and set up all these things. They don't understand Mars. This is the gouge across Mars. It's as big as the United States. And it is from when that impact occurred and destroyed Mars and is now the red planet. Okay, so what is Mars? Well, this is Mars. And what is this? This is called the Mars crab. This is from the first Curiosity mission. They sent a rover up and it went around and looked and it saw this crab. And they said, "Woo, what is that thing?" Now, look at this carefully. You see there's a tube up here and a tube down here. This one has all the crab legs running out of it. Well, why would that be? What could that possibly be? All right, now this is what it looks like down below here. You see it? That's a blow up. Now, what is this we're seeing here? All these little tiny stripes, and then these gashes running down them. And they're on every single one of them. So something's going on. These are patterned. Why? And why is this big tube with all those little crab legs coming out of there? Well, I could tell you exactly what it is, and I will in a second. Okay, what you're looking at here was, I believe this was a shoulder. That was the round spot. It could be a lot of different things. But this is this same thing when it first came out of the ground. You see up here this red? That tube right there, and he's running off here and running off here. This is red, and that's a little brown. This is the red spot. This is after it's been sitting 10, 12 years. But this is where the shoulder is, and it's back up here. It's not in this shot. Now, what is this? Well, that's meat. This is actually muscle. The white strips through here are the connective tissue that keeps the muscle so that it can work. The red spots in there are the sarcomeres so that it can pull in and out. That's how muscles work. and they're attached and anchored to bones or shoulders or wherever they're anchored to. And then the muscle has to pull in and out. And how does it do that? With what's something called sarcomere. You want to see what that is? I'll show you. You see that? That's what's called a sarcomere. This is where they're pinched together, and this is where they're just relaxed and open. All right, they can change here. They can move this way and that way a little bit, but they pinch together, and the black and the white fuses together, and you get a grayish look to them. That's how your muscles contract. All right, this, my friend, is an artery. And that's, arteries have little vessels running out everywhere to send the blood out. Veins are a little different. That's the vein. And that brings the blood back to the heart. So there's not a whole batch of little legs running out of the veins. But out of arteries there are. And that is an artery. And what is it doing here? It's supplying the blood to the sarcomeres, which are the muscle tissue. You have to have a ton of blood. And what is all this red dust all over the red planet? It's blood. It's dried, eroded blood. It is no different than Earth, only it's dead. Okay, think about this. What is blood made of? It's made of iron. What is the red planet? The red planet is coated with iron. And then you say, oh, Roger, that's crazy, the size of that thing, that crab, that's gigantic. Well, guess what? This is out what they call Vermilion Cliffs. That is a stomach that is the outside portion of the stomach, and this is it right here. That's what a stomach looks like in a microscopic shot. That's what this guy is walking on. Identical, same stuff. Earth is no different than Mars, only Earth still has some viability to it, but I tell you, it's close to not being viable anymore. I mean, it may not be viable. And then you say, Roger, you must be totally off your rocker. I say, well, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. What is this? That's what's called the Mars-Morris Code. No idea what it's doing there. Look at the patterning. I could tell you exactly what it's doing there. This is what's called interstitium. You see these little balls? You see these little straps? Why are some of them stretched and some of them all globbed together? I can tell you why, because this is skin. And it's pinched here and stretched here and stretched over there. And because Mars has a dusty environment, it's basically sandblasted some of these fibers off because they're weak. The balls are tough as hell. And they're all over. They end up being called the Mars blueberries. This is another area. On Mars, they call these the Mars blueberries. No idea where they came from. I can tell you exactly what they are. They are interstitium anchor balls. And once again, you call me crazy. And I say, well, maybe, maybe not. What is this? That's the Morse code. That's the Mars Morse code. These are all the balls. Up there it's pulled and stretched and pinched in a couple spots. Now, you see those little balls? That's these here in a microscope. You see that? This is skin, or it can also be a membrane that wraps organs and so forth. But below every one of these membranes and below your skin is this type of webbing that lets them sort of gush around and come back to where it's supposed to be. Well, guess what? So is this here, right here. You see that? That's the same stuff. This was all interstitium, and it's being eroded by the ocean. And this is the skin. Literally, that is probably skin. Clay. Kaolin clay is the fine slip skin that they make fine china out of. And it's chalky, it's a slip skin, they call it. These balls were in these walls. The balls were in the walls. Now the balls ain't in the walls. They're in the mud that has run off of these walls. The balls are very, very hard and tough, as you can see over here, the Moki marbles. All right, those are in Utah. This is not just a one-off place. They're everywhere on Earth, everywhere. See, there's some more Vermilion Cliffs. There's a guy standing up there. This is all bodily tissue that has petrified in a manner that I have determined. I understand it because I did the chemistry on it, and it's nucleophilic invasion and substitution because of a hot, salty water flood in heavy amounts of transition metals, which is blood. So then you say, well, Roger, explain this. What is going on there? They call these fairy chimneys. 17 most unreal rock formations. Well, I can tell you exactly what that is. It is this right here, intestinal villi. And they erode underneath, and you end up with these fairy chimneys. Now that is microscopic. This is a microscopic shot by Science Photo Library. You see that little red spot in the middle of the bottom there? In that cavity? That is a giant iron meteorite. And guess what it is? It was a lung. And it came out of space. And this also is a lung. And if it had come through space and cooked up, the iron would have been all that was left. All of the cheap stuff would go. Same as that thing right there. Now, how did that thing get in space? And how could it be so gigantic? And how could it turn into a meteorite? Well, it comes through space and it literally smelts. The hotter it gets, the more stuff burns off and the more condensed the metals become. That's nothing more than smelting. And it stayed intact, which is kind of unusual. Usually they'll go crazy. As a matter of fact, I have a video hold on, let me see if I can find it. Okay, I found it. This is posted by You Otherwise Island 512. It was posted 8 days ago. Meteor breaking into the Earth's atmosphere. This is really good. Now listen here. I'm going to open this up. Watch this.
What the heck is that? Dude,
where do you
that's
see
like
this?
a comet or something.
Look at that.
Oh my gosh. That's a comet.
It's shooting stars. So many.
Wow.
Look, I've never seen shooting stars, Andy. Never seen a shooting star in my life. I need you to text me your video because it's better than mine, I bet. Shooting stars. Andy.
That's amazing.
They are psyched. Now, here's what I want to show you. Follow this trail. Again, if that big chunk of iron came through space, that is the one that's going to not burn up. It's going to look like a big ball of fire. And that's what you're going to see. I think this was a whole body. These creatures were thrown into space when Venus hit Mars, and all these giant creatures went into space. That's the only way I can think of they got there. Now watch, there's a big glowing spot that'll show up here.
Yeah.
It's real bright compared to everybody. There it is right there, somewhere.
Seeing this?
Yes. This is amazing, Andy.
Listen to him.
That's a massive asteroid. Or
See the one in the
comet or
front?
something,
I think
don't know.
that's the heart.
That was big.
Insane. There's so many of them.
See it?
That's like once in a lifetime right there.
You're not kidding, buddy. You see how bright that one is in the front? That one's cooking.
Wow.
That is amazing.
I'd
Still
love to
burning
know
up.
where that ended up. See it glow? I'll bet you that's the heart. Everything else is burnt off. That's the
I can't
metals.
believe we just got that on video.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I applaud you. Nice job. And I believe this is where your metals are going to end up. Don't forget, that's that gigantic meteorite. And that's all made out of iron. And they come through regularly. Well, they all have blood in them when they come through, when they turn into iron. If you can see, now that's a little tiny iron meteorite, and that's another small iron meteorite. And they both came through, and they both still have actual blood in them. And I guarantee you that if somebody was to go and look into that hole there deep enough, they would find some blood in there. Something that they could test. I mean, when it's red like that, that's what blood is all about. Now, that one there has blood still in it. I did a catalase test on it. It bubbles up. It's hard to focus in on this thing. It doesn't focus well, but this came through space. It burnt up and coming through space. Same thing with this one. It's a little bit bigger, but not much. Look at them. They're basically the same. They're both lungs. You see? They're both almost identical, just one's smaller than the other. Alright. Okay, this is an iron meteorite. When they say iron, that's not necessarily correct. There's all kinds of different metals in here. Primarily it's iron because blood is primarily iron. And there's your iron right there, red blood, and the black is the hematite. You got red is the, black is the magnetite, and the red is the hematite. You see the black right there? That's blood. You see that one right there? That is also blood. It's a vein and an artery. Now all these different crystal types and colors are because there's different transition metals. Primarily though, they are iron. Now that's the crusting around which was originally the pleura. It was probably a lung like this. This has been DNA tested in CAT stand and everything else. 100% certain it's a lung. And see how it's flat on the back? That was during the catastrophe when Earth was almost hit by Mars. That's what created by Venus. That's what created all the mud fossils. And they're flat as a pancake on one side. And they were parboiled prior to drying out and turning into stone. And they turned, the transition event occurs in this hot, watery, transition metal dense waters. Hot because of the Venus impact, almost, and heavy with metals because they're blood. Blood came out of all these people and infused into all and found its way to the stuff that would normally rot. Was stabilized by a process called nucleophilic substitution. I have studied this so deeply, there's no question now that it's true. Now all they can do is hide from it or they can confront it. Now I thought Elon Musk was a confronter. Let's see, I've tried to contact him. I don't know, I'm sure I'm not getting through. But if somebody could contact him, he needs to know about this stuff. He's going out there, he better know what he's doing. Alright, these are the lungs that I have here in my shop that are iron meteorites. And there's an iron meteorite up on Mars. This is from Comet 67P, just another piece of space debris. Look at this, iron, iron, iron. These are all the different types of iron that's in your body. Hydrocarbons, same stuff that's in your body, which is methane gases, sodium, silicon, carbon. It's all the same stuff that's in you. And they say, yes, absolutely, it's all organic. No explanation for it. I do. I know exactly what it is. Comet 67P. It's a giant tendon enthesis. You know, I'm just going to leave it at this. If people can't see what's right in front of their faces, I have no hope for humanity anymore. That is a bundle of muscle. These are muscle fibers, and that ran up to work this tendon. This is the anchor ball of the tendon. I know these things very, very well. Okay, I'm sure Elon must know an anatomist somewhere. That is, to me, a bundle of muscle. These are tendon fibrils. It's broken off at the abrupt transition. This was an anchor emplacement somewhere in the body of some creature. I don't know what it was. This is absolutely enormous. 100% biological. All the anatomical features. And when it gets in the sunlight, all of these things cook. They're not just dust blowing off, it's cooking. You see this? This is not just dust flowing off of here. These are the little blood vessels sending up their cooked smoke meat. This is the artery. These are the little hooks that hook that thing into whatever it was locked into at one point. These creatures, as I showed you, there's no way for anybody to account. Okay, space smells like burning metal or steak when you open the hatch. Here's why. The reason why is this blood. There's blood boiling off. Blood is saturated with metals. You saw what a heart looks like when it smelts. It is saturated with metals. Those are the debris, the smoke that's coming off of Comet 67P. Let's see what they say. Listen to this nonsense. NASA Science News has another explanation. Materials once exposed to the vacuum of space can react strongly with oxygen pumped back into a spacecraft. When you burn materials in air, the same process occurs called oxidation, just at a much faster rate. So this might help explain the burnt character or smell. That's ridiculous. It's all of that stuff coming out of these body parts that are in space. How they got there, all I can think of is when Mars was crashed into by this gigantic thing, all of these gigantic creatures, and they are huge. I showed you the body parts here on Earth. If Earth got hit by it, they would all be out in space too. Okay, I think I've shown you some pretty good evidence about Mars and so forth, and in space, there is nothing more than these particles that I'm showing you. We have shown the particles right here. All right, if you can see that. These are the actual particles of light. That's all we used was light. These are the ones that Fermilab found. We found the same ones. Not only did we do that, we accelerated the light. We caused it to split into the basic two parts of the Dirac neutrino, the muon and the electron neutrino. They turned into electron showers and sterile muons. Somebody told me that Elon Musk uses a lot of electricity. Well, maybe you want to take a look at this. I think we can get free electricity right there. Absolutely free. By using pulsed lasers and forcing that raw white energy to collect in some form of a substrate and harvest it. So, that's another thing I'd like to talk to Elon about. And the problem is, physicists want to stay with the standard model. All right, they want to stay with one big gigantic proton, a huge thing that you can smash like a piece of glass. No, it is a pile of little electrons that are also attached to the muons. They are Dirac. Each one of these is a magnet. It's a Dirac neutrino. All right, one side is black and one side is white. Can you see that? Probably not. No, there it is right there. You see that little dot, that little magnet? That's all it is right there. And you take 1,823 of them together, and that is what a proton is. All right, we are separating the actual photon particles. So we're taking this particle here and keeping the black side out and sending the white side through. That's fission and fusion. All right, so Mr. Musk, I am going to ask you to see if you have an engineer around there that would look at this and see if it makes any sense. That we're separating the black particle from the white, which is the muon neutrino, from the electron neutrino, allowing only the electron neutrino to shower through here, creating electron showers. I believe this increased luminosity displays the fact that we have increased the energy. Not only that, we've separated these two particles. I've shown this in a nuclear bomb blast. The first thing that happens is the house just burns up, and then comes the black particle to knock it away. And that's because the white particles will always surround the black particles, and there is nothing but dipoles. That's all that exists. They never knew that the black was here. It's attached to the white. That's where the 95% of the universe is they never could find. It's the dark matter. It's everywhere. Dark matter is literally everywhere. When these white particles separated from their dark counterparts, somewhere these other black particles were waiting for them. They didn't jump over here. These started to attach back to the black ones here. There's a lot of thinking to do here, and I would like to have Mr. Musk give me a call and here, or email me, whatever, roger@mudfossils.com. All right? Thank you, my good friends. Okay, my friends, the things I have just discussed with you are literally biblical, and they are about what happened in the past. I have no real accounting for the size of these creatures and so forth. There was text written by the ancient Greeks that sort of plays into this. I think it all supports Jesus Christ coming back here to try to protect us from this disastrous situation. Now, I want to caution the group of people that say the Earth is flat, there's no such thing as space, there's no no space station, all that stuff is all cartoons. Please don't do that here. I don't want to be disrespectful, but I do research out there. I understand what's out there, and I want to go through this argument for the next 10 years. It's been 10 years of that argument, and I'm just kind of basically done with it. So please respect that from me, and we will be able to get along. All right? If you're interested in this, that's fine. If not, and you don't believe any of this stuff, that's fine too. But I'm just not going to go through that argument, okay? Thank you.